Creek, my fiance's kids wanted to go to church. They found a Bible that their mother had given, or their grandmother had given to them, and we always had talked in our relationship, and when the kids were ready to go to church, we would take them. So we looked online and we found Shoal Creek. Connor came with the kids the first Sunday, and I just wasn't quite ready yet. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. My spiritual journey had kind of came to a halt when I was in high school and college, and so he went. He loved it. It was about last September he started coming, and then the very next weekend he goes, "You gotta come with me." He goes, "It's really not bad." I was like, "Is it really like all this, hymnals and all this stuff?" And he goes, "No." He goes, "Not really." So I came and I was pleasantly shocked. It was the first sermon I came to was the one that Roy was talking about sex. So I was like, okay, if they can talk about sex at church, I'm okay with it. I think I'll stay. So we've been coming almost every Sunday since. We've missed a very few, I think one or two maybe, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I was raised in and out of Catholic schools when I was young. My mom likes the tradition of Catholicism, but she never really forced us to do anything with it. I have an older sister. When we were older, when we were in middle school and high school, she and my dad kind of gave us the, whatever you want to do with your spiritual journey is yours. My dad never really has, even to this day, very outspoken about it. And my mom she believes in the Catholic faith. And one day in high school, I went to Mass and I stopped in the middle of one of the prayers, and I thought to myself, I'm regurgitating these words over and over again, and I don't know what they mean. And I had known them since I was probably 6 or 7 years old, and I just really started to take a step back and say, what does this mean to me? And I found that I had no idea what it meant to me. So being a rebellious teenager, I thought the easiest thing to do was to just back out of religion completely. Even though I did end up going to a Catholic college, it was just because it was convenience. It was in the same town that I grew up. So I just didn't have anything. When I met my fiance, I met him a little bit over 3 years ago, and we got into the religion discussion, what do you like, what do you dislike, what's your religion, what's your job, those type of things. So this first date questions. And I told him, I said, I'm pretty agnostic. And he says, oh, okay, well, I'm not. And I said, well, are you a churchgoer? And he goes, no, not really. And I said, okay, well, So I was of the scientific belief, if you can't prove it to me, then it's not there. And and we just differed for a long time. And I came to Shoal Creek the first time, and I still was kind of like, oh, this is kind of nice. I like the music, it's fun. But it wasn't until I joined the group that I really invited God completely into my life. We pray together now. I read the Bible by myself now. We pray at meals with the kids. I think that the kids really see an impact on how it's changed us. I don't know how I did it for so many years without God. I started this small group, and we got the handout when we walked in the doors, and I kind of looked at Connor and I said, do you want to do this? And he goes, yeah, we don't really know a lot of people in Liberty. Why don't we do this? So I was like, okay, similar interests, and we'll give it a shot. So when we joined small group, I felt very comfortable going to them probably week 3 or 4 and saying, I'm agnostic, guys. I don't know what I'm doing here. And then there was another guy that spoke up and said, hey, I was too, and look at me now. And opening the Bible for the first time that I wanted to, instead of that I was required to for class, was something different. I opened the Bible, and we started on, our journey was Relate. And one of the first Bible verses we had, I was like, oh, well, wow, this book really has something in it. We're talking about things that matter to me, not that matter thousands of years ago, and Connor and I discussed it the whole way home, which was only like 5 or 6 minutes, but that was more than we'd ever discussed the Bible ever. We actually still don't have a hard copy of the Bible other than the kids' copies that we have, but opening the Bible and reading it, discussing it, agreeing with people, disagreeing with people, having different backgrounds, having different interactions. The Bible started to show me what I was missing, what Connor and I were missing, especially since it was late. We were kind of hitting a rocky spot in our relationship and didn't really know what to do. Do we move forward and make this thing last, or do we kind of call it quits? And which was kind of our whole relationship. So we really started buckling down, started reading it, starting reading it together, and I really feel like I found God in the pages of the Bible. He's my first person I turn to now.
Now, was there something about?
I think that what flipped the switch, if you will, in the journey with my group was the first day I was there. We kind of talked about our lives, our backgrounds, our spiritual backgrounds, and one of the people went and her comment was, "Well, I'm a recovering Catholic," and it kind of made me giggle, and I was like, "Yeah, me too," and then another guy's like, "Well, I'm a tech guy," and Connor's like, "Oh, well, me too," and so I felt like it was warming, like it was comforting. We came from different backgrounds, but we were still there for the same reasons. I remember one instance when I was in high school and Catholic school, I said, "Well, Sister so-and-so, I don't necessarily believe this," and she goes, "Well, you can't be here then, and you can't be Catholic," and so I almost felt like I was shunned by the Catholic faith at that point, and for me to say, "Well, I don't necessarily believe that," and they're like, "Okay, whatever, that's fine. We can still hang out, get along, and discuss it." And it was I think that's probably the main thing that really hit me off, was that it's okay to not have the same opinions, and it's okay to think differently and to come from a different spiritual background and to not be baptized at 6 weeks old and to not be confirmed in 8th grade. I think that the group, we just grew together, and we were there to support each other. My fiance and I this is my second marriage, his third marriage. The spiritual journey is different for both of us. We've never had that in our relationship before. It's very nice to be able to go to Connor and say, "I'm having a problem with something. I don't know how to deal with it." And as funny as it sounds, his first go-to is, "Well, did you pray about it?" "No, Connor, I didn't yet." And so it helps us together to follow through with things. I saw something the other day. Instead of just married on the back of their car, they said, "We decided on forever," and that's something that I had never thought about before. And we actually weren't going to get married. We thought that dating and living together was good enough, but through group, through reading the Bible, through coming to service, I realized that I wanted something more. I wanted to in front of God, in front of my friends, in front of my family, say, this is who I'm with forever. And with God in our lives, we'll be able to work out anything together. Whereas before it was, well, I got an attorney on call, I can just, we can get divorced, it's not a big deal, but it's not an option. It's not an option anymore. And we know it's going to be tough. We know it's not going to be easy, but being able to turn to the Bible, being able to turn to God, being able to turn to people in our group that have maybe gone through similar things, and help us walk through it. I don't have it all figured out. I'm still trying to put together the pieces. I love when a puzzle's finished, but this one's, I don't think will ever be finished. I think there's always going to be pieces to grow on it and to make it whole. It's a puzzle I don't want finished. It's the closer I get to God, the more things that good happen. The more clear I am about why things happen, the more I can give to Him and say, you know, I don't have this figured out yet, but just lead me in the right path. It's interesting. I still try to turn to friends or family before I turn to God, and I just every time I turn around, it's, you know, what happened if I just prayed about it? And that would have never been even in my thoughts 5, 10, 15 years ago. But now it's probably one of the first things I do. I assess the situation and I sit back and say, you know, God, you have a plan. Sometimes I still don't believe it, but I hope that He'll make things work for me. And if He doesn't, well, I hope He picks me back up eventually. So, you know, I don't have it figured out. I'm glad I don't have it figured out because I think I would quit searching and quit my journey if I knew all the answers. For the family, one of the things that I really want for the kids is that they have a spiritual background to fall back on. I want to tell them that it's okay not to have the answers, that it's okay not to know what you're doing or where you're going, and sometimes you just need to sit down and just pray about it. Ask God, why, what, how, when, and that sometimes you may not get an answer. And I like that the kids are the ones that pushed us to come. I don't know that Connor and I would have done it without them. And we went on a camping trip last weekend with the church, and they had the best time. And it's really impacted them on a positive note. They do come from a broken family, a divorced family, and I think it just gives them that one extra positive influence. You know, and if their dad and I can be that positive role model, that's great. But you know, God and the Bible and Jesus and the rest of the stories need to really play a part in that. And I think that would. I hope that they find it a lot sooner than I did. Yeah, the relationships that we've gained have been phenomenal. I've only been in small groups for about 7 months now, and I actually, right before I left the house, I had texted 3 group members. I don't go a day without talking to one of them. We lean on each other for everything. We know more things about each other than I've ever been comfortable telling anybody before. When I need somebody, I know they'll be there. I trust them to come in and out of my house without me there, which is kind of weird. I never trusted anybody to do that before, and I'm like, oh, here's the key, come in when you want to. I think that for me, if I would have started the journey at money or serving, I think it would have been a little bit different. But when I started the journey, it was relate, and it's exactly what I needed at the time I needed it. We do everything together. I serve with some of them too. They convinced me that since we did so well in group that I need to serve, so I opened the doors at the kids zone.
And so what's that serving been like?
It's been nice. I was very reluctant to do it. The serving to me was, it was getting out of my comfort zone a little. It was being accountable for something, which I didn't know that I could be accountable. I was asked to give it a shot one week, just try it out, and I loved it. I opened the doors and people smiled at me and said good morning, and I helped some families get to the right places and strip their kids away from them to send them to the zones. And I mean, the kids loved coming, the parents loved coming. It was nice seeing people from my group that I know and being able to give them the hug, good morning, and I don't miss any of the sermon, or I don't miss any at all, really, which is nice. We kind of are able to balance it so that we don't have to miss any of the service at all. Yeah, serving was scary at first, and I've done it almost a month and a half now. So both services, I'm opening the doors.